practice that slow push. Slow push. Like, I want to take 10 minutes to get tied. Why is that? Dude, it's regular. Like, I was so low global shot. Sherry like banned me from it. She's like, no. You're so used to the other shots. I have those old school painters that they used to like type on. And I remember feeding in this car accident and I get this text.
Oh, really? Oh, man.
She was so close. And then waterfall fire, she also blew her knee out. And never back again. She did assignment editing, I believe. And then assignment editing up in Seattle. And tired. I could follow her on Twitter. She hired me when I was 22 years old. No news experience. They liked that I had a scanner experience. I knew how to listen.
Did you do any Halloween stuff?
I found out a bunch in that market.
I went to and when I was driving up there, I was like, oh, there's photos.
Yeah, originally the market just started out really good. And I remember being on 7 tables one day, different, and it was straight vibrations. I believe it. So when I very first failed, and it just scored me for years. My very first failed, it was I was on that. You were on that too? And it was the dude, it was the exact same make model color BMW. Yes. And they came up over the hill, and they collided. Each of them were going out 90 miles an hour. He was going from the Newtown. He was going from Newtown. He was drunk. Yes. So she was coming off from the street. Yes. She was off work. Wow. The family showed up. Yes, and the woman moved. The wife was so screaming.
Oh, really?
Oh my God! I was screaming.
I can move this thing, but I can't.
Yes. I mean, they didn't have the top of the he's looking at the sea.
So right now, I have eye tracking. If it's an eye tracking situation, it's not as good, frankly, but it's better than the big box. But sometimes it's not. But that's what I'm using right now. It's a technique I learned from.
Can we show this?
It's really good on there.
It is,
I don't know. I don't know who uses that, but I know
that
it's
looks
like a million dollars.
That one was a Channel 4 at the time I read an article. And I remember NHP was so cool because they would roll up and use
the Nikon computers. You know, the engineering used to be used to know how it worked.
Right.
So, but now because of the color.
Really?
Yeah, so I remember I explained it to me, but I cannot get it. It makes no sense to me. And it works so much better. That could be because of doing it in a good way.
Oh my God, that
it takes a lot of it for photography. When you used to know what you were doing. Now you're like, I hope it's in focus. We'll see when we get back. I don't know. Yeah.
that I was at, and it was the train versus pedestrian downtown. They put in that train track.
Yeah.
I like trains, I still have 95 before the
Sure,
train.
all right, anyway, for a second, I noticed the
Pretty well.
Yeah.
It's a stereotype of calling me over.
Focus tracking.
She's talking to me, and looking down, and mid-sentence, she pulls the sheet back. Oh, can't they? And I turned back to Sherry, she's like, just want to see, like, what you pay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That sounds good. Hey, sure is right there.
I was like, May of 2000, May of 2002.
Oh, yeah.
And it was check. I have.
So
I used to start
it's a smaller camera, but that's weird.
I have a lot of this.
It's also sort of
I got 12 years in that market.
Oh, yeah.
I was lucky to get out of that. TV or had it there, so
How did you?
it was answer had on their website. Said photographer. And it was that day. Or else they were gonna get time. And so they hired me and interviewed.
That's okay.
I was like, whoa. The first like 6 months. So I went every day. I was like, dude.
Set up to focus. They wouldn't focus depending on. You could use even a different mode. This is this mode, but you can choose one spot. If you want. If it's in the box.
Kirsten Joyce.
Yeah, Kirsten.
Yeah. Take
Dude. Okay. Speak up, Kirsten.
And you have to be able to set it up so you can quickly
I've
change
been going down to meetings.
the one that's going to work. So
And guess what? Here comes Kirsten.
I need
She's
to
got
be
a
able to
job.
quickly change.
And she goes goodbye. I go to Vegas. And she's at CBS station. And I work
Just
sample. Yeah.
That's why the great teachers were. That's what
Yeah, she was at
But we used to many different
Yeah.
scenarios.
So pissed that I got out of it, but we had a story down in Carson High
They're not
about
really, they're not really
turtle water.
optimized for that. They're optimized for your sports photography. Your wedding photography.
She checks the door and she said, Carson High without water.
Or a shooting shooter that would be the
I lost it.
There's all these pictures that
Our picture is somewhere.
if you shoot a sport,
So we start.
you know, there's a lot of changing. Yeah.
Did you ever work with Melina Curtis?
Yeah.
We want to be clear.
You see a picture of her. She was way sure. Yeah, I do remember working with the radio gal.
Tall, blonde.
Yeah. No, I remember. No, I do the name, but no, so yeah. So yeah, dude, I don't know how I did that. It's way too famous.
It's the nature of
Send it your page. So I absolutely right.
It's so amazing.
All those markets.
Oh, it started well, they have not
And you can have it
same
personalized.
story plus the snow, plus the angry people.
That might be a big
Favorite here, this goes to
because
you were before now.
I'm with KBC, yeah.
it was expensive money out there.
I actually had an opportunity to listen to you guys, but my thing is this, I don't know. That commute they were all 5 days, and it was like 10 position, I'm like, oh yeah, and it was this, or it was NC, and it was, you know,
Really good.
and they were just, you guys, hey, I just want to.
There's so many options.
Cool. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. There's some stuff.
Okay.
How long have you been at?
I'll be 11 years in March.
Yeah.
Five staff.
So, do you know first, okay. Since you've been with Gloria Allred,
Yeah.
It's
interesting.
You know this guy? So Ruby,
That's the way it is.
so no, he was okay. So
Oh, I know. So there was an advertisement. And we were wise on it. You know, they don't get advertising on YouTube. It's non-customized. So these little advertisements, and they were talking about being present live. This was super internet, super high speed. And in today's world, the most optimized you are, and the most faster you are,
no, I think I know you're
that's the only way to survive. And so we have this internet guy, which is like 100 times faster. And I just thought it was a funny.
Yeah.
It was like so blatant.
Yeah.
You know, they usually try to pretend that it's like you're not really good about it.
Yeah.
But it was like, you need to be a machine. We can help you do this.
Yeah.
Because it does feel like, I mean, if you want to get to later,
So it's now this is going for so I'm on
it's not very like leaving
CBS
oh yeah, it's like, oh yeah, then, boy, yeah, it's, it's interesting, it's interesting as long as,
but yeah.
that's, it's interesting when they do,
So like we were down the street almost down the street.
in different forms, there's people doing interesting work.
That's not
Yeah, I remember. People always think like we're really it's like the natural inside. It's like just nature, like black and white.
It's like, you know, I'm sitting there.
You know, but it's not what's really there, right? So we think it's real.
Okay, you just sit there with me.
You don't feel it? Yeah. Well, that's the other thing that I noticed. I just started going to gym and I started to feel a little bit better in my body. I don't have stamina. Stamina for the day. You know, it's stamina for the day. I don't have the stamina. Before I get to 9, then stay up at night and read books. I don't have stamina.
It makes sense, especially with personality.
Because I was off.
Yeah. That was a cool market to start in. We had everything spots.
It's like, because otherwise,
Hotel fire, I don't think we killed works.
Yeah.
so, it doesn't help work.
That one was fun. And was in the graveyard with the parents all the time. And all weekend showed up.
I go on Tuesdays to do
Dead silent. I was like, where's the scanners?
sometimes I go to the APT office and I just don't really
Producer was like,
I
turn
like
them down. There were 2 hours. I couldn't think. I'm like,
people.
what? Excuse me? And so I go and turn it up. And the first thing I hear when I turn it up is, we got fire on first, second floor. Guys jumping off the 3rd floor balcony. And I knew it was downtown. Don't turn those scanners on. Send me a reporter too. Or I hopped in my truck. Wow. And I followed the smoke before he called me. Yeah. He's like, it's the mitzvah hotel. But you're right there. Sometimes it's just fully in gold. Generate out of that.
It's usually
So
I haven't been
half part of a halfway house. This woman had gotten out of prison and made an advance towards another woman. And chick was
pretty useful.
and the lady got pissed. So they had lined up all these old mattresses outside of the rooms because they just put in brand new mattresses out there waiting to get folded out. She puts the mattress in front of the woman's door and soaks it in vodka and lights it on fire. And killed 13 people.
Good Lord.
Yes. And so we're down there getting the best fireworks I've ever gotten. Firefighters were carrying guys down the ladder and shit. And we're there this morning for Italian chiefs interviews and stuff like that. This dude stumbles out from behind the rail in his room, passed out all night, and didn't die. Just pull their camera. What happened, sir? It's like, I don't know. You tell me. I came back and I screamed at that dude. It was stupid. Yes. Right. It's like, you're lucky. And something came in and turned his on. Had you not had that escape look? Oh, you fired.
Oh, yeah. That's actually good. No,
It's like,
my last day at 2.
it depends.
Who was it? Jason is still there?
You're still there.
He is. I think he is. He's kind of the longest running news director.
Oh, he is. He is.
I like him.
So, we get this producer. Very local.
Pretty high.
She goes, it was the day that the joint question died.
Okay.
The day the joint question died.
I would say 64. I'm sure many people are so much more. I'm always like conservative.
Yeah, joint
I
question.
don't know why. I really don't need to be.
No. The sweet story, like the A-plot, like Lily, I'm like, you are so dumb.
Actually, it's
Right there. Are you happy? It's like, oh. Right. That was our Twitter before Twitter. Was the wires. Let me check this.
It's still talk about, I'm not a producer, but
I know, right, we've been in that situation, just to know what's people on. Johnny Carson's dying was like pre-Avon, which is a little
freaking teasing.
I know, everything. Web, everything.
I was just thinking,
That was huge. I just feel like
I know there's a lot of I've been trying to get to that.
With what? With some views.
Oh, the camera has trail cam.
Salvation Army
Three raccoons at once.
collabs, like all the groups are
Yeah,
I've
Those are great jeeps. Makes like movies. This was, so right when I got hired,
and so interesting to see
controllers for used to be on the
they're not
second
looking,
floor.
they're using
Studios
scratches,
on the
not
first.
like
And
that.
up until 2002,
And then find
smoking
this
control.
one.
Yeah,
It was nuts.
yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then the new one It's like every hour we said,
Would it be a good place?
Gina Martini was there.
Gina, you were Kelly
Yes.
Dennis.
Morgan,
Sterling.
Sterling.
They're right in front of the camera.
You know the backstory.
I gotta send you one or two videos. It's pretty cool to watch. It's really cool to watch. None of us just really want to see it. You can see it really clearly. This is like a last one.
Well, his first we were there with John Parsons there.
Oh.
Through there.
Oh, really?
It's been really recent. Maybe it is because
Oh, and because they makes it a lot easier to find
Jenny Malcolm.
the virgin going crazy.
We're getting divorced.
They walk out all the way.
Twins.
So I guess the seeds.
yeah.
Curtis Parrish.
Yeah.
See you there, so. He was in motion.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's interesting.
Paul Nelson.
yes.
Yeah, Paul Will and Paul.
Yes. Great friend in there.
Yeah.
So Curtis Parrish.
Yeah. It's like all the outdoors. Pretty much.
It's just started. That's back. So.
Okay. Here, hold it. Yeah,
Okay.
right here. Go ahead.
Want to sit there?
Right here.
Okay. My police reports are here today.
Okay.
Where's she going?
Okay. Okay. Thank you for coming today. I'm attorney Gloria Allred. I represent Alicia Arden, and I'll be doing an introduction, and then Alicia will make a statement, and then I will have some comments of my own. I have also, over a number of years, represented a total of 27 survivors of Jeffrey Epstein. This week, the House of Representatives in Congress is expected to take a floor vote in support of or against the Department of Justice's releasing all of the files that it has not yet released to Congress into the investigation of Jeffrey Epstein and those who associated with him, who may have enabled, supported, or conspired with him to sexually abuse and or sex traffic underage girls and adults. For a long time, the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell have been calling for the release of those files. While thousands of pages have been released to the House Oversight Committee as a result of the subpoena, which they authorized, thousands more pages have not been provided by the Department of Justice, even though polls show that the majority of Democrats, Independents, and Republicans in the public have supported the release of those files. Their survivors have made it clear over and over again that they want transparency and they want to know the whole truth concerning how Jeffrey Epstein and Ms. Maxwell were able to sexually victimize and sex traffic children and adults for such a long period of time. Alicia Arden, who is here with me today, is the first victim of Jeffrey Epstein to have proof that she filed a police report because of what Epstein did to her. And, however, no prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein ever took place in reference to her police report. Alicia will explain how she feels about the upcoming vote in the House and the President's decision yesterday to tell House Republicans to vote to release the files. After Alicia speaks, I will share my concerns about the latest development on this issue, announced by the President, and how it may impact the survivors' desire to have all of the Department of Justice's files released. First, however, I'm honored to present Alicia Arden. Closer?
Yeah.
Sure.
Gloria.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Gloria. And thank you all for coming. And this has been a very...
Could you speak up a little?
Oh, okay. Thank you, Gloria. Is that better? Thank you. Thanks all for coming. This has been a very emotionally draining week for me, as I'm sure you all can imagine. And it's been very emotional for so many of the survivors, myself, of Jeffrey Epstein. And the current administration promised during the campaign to release the Jeffrey Epstein files, but all the files were not released due to the House Oversight Committee, even though the campaign and the committee had subpoenaed them. President Trump just told everyone to just move on. And then this week, revelations came out in emails from Jeffrey Epstein's estate, which mention President Mr. Trump. And that same president who told us to move on threatened a Republican member of Congress who changed her vote to support the survivors. And then, when it became clear that many Republicans wanted the vote to release the files, and then the president changed his position. And as now told Republicans in the House to vote for the Department of Justice files to be released. So, as you can imagine, the events of this last week has completely been, it's hard for me to say, it's been very much a complete slap in the face to the victims, myself, who are just reaching and searching for justice in this matter. The only thing that we really learned from last week is that those in Washington are more concerned with playing political games than they are with being honest with the American people and helping the victims, myself, of Jeffrey Epstein, the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, and Miss Maxwell. And this week, the House of Representatives will finally have the opportunity to decide if the Epstein files will be released. So, speaking as one of the victims, I beg you to release these files once and for all. I mean, there is no valid reason for refusing to do so. So you can't claim that it is to protect the victims. I mean, when it is the victims, myself, and the victims that have been calling for the files to be released. I mean, this should be really an easy bipartisan issue. And why would there be a single no vote? My hope is that finally these files will be released. And those who were complacent in Jeffrey Epstein's crimes will finally be named. and the American public will get the transparency that they've been promised and which we all deserve and they deserve. But if the House does not vote to be releasing these files, it will be very disappointing to all of us. And I mean, what reason could they possibly have for keeping this information such a secret unless it is to protect themselves? And I believe that. What could they have? It's in order just to protect themselves at the expense of myself, the victims, all of the public. And the more that we are denied the files, the more we assume that the very politicians who vote appear to be doing and so to hide the facts for their own political or personal reasons. So once again, I appeal to the members of the House. Vote to release these files so that we can finally see who else helped Jeffrey Epstein and who else victimized so many children and adults.
Thank you, Alicia.
You're welcome.
I would like to begin by thanking the President for urging the Republicans in the House to vote to support the discharge petition and on the floor to release the Epstein files. However, I am concerned with what the President has not said. First, he has not explained to the public that a vote to release the files is not really necessary. The House Oversight Committee has already subpoenaed the files, and some of the files, but not all of them, have been released. The committee could seek a vote holding the Department of Justice in contempt, but most likely they do not have enough votes to take that step. Further, the Department of Justice could have released all of the files and still could, voluntarily. They did not need a vote in Congress or a subpoena to do that. However, because they have not released all the files, certain members of Congress want to vote on this issue, and now they'll have the opportunity to do that. If the House votes to support the release of the files, the issue will then go to the Senate for a vote. I note that the President has not urged the senators to vote to release the files. Even if the senators do vote in favor of the release, the bill will then go to the President. And the President has not indicated that he would even sign such a bill. Further complicating all of this is that the President has directed the Department of Justice to investigate high-level Democrats who are mentioned in the Epstein files. Attorney General Pam Bondi said she would do that, and she directed the Justice Department's office in the Southern District of New York to open the investigation. Will any Republicans whose names are in the files and who were associated with Jeffrey Epstein also have their names be released, or will their names be withheld? Will any of them be prosecuted if there's sufficient evidence to do that? Will the release of the names of Democrats in the files contaminate any future prosecution of those individuals named in the files? Also, Democrats who are being investigated should be able to argue selective prosecution, which appears to be political persecution. There are many more questions that flow from the President's statements and lack of answers to other important questions. The road to full transparency will be a long one, but I feel that the courage of survivors to persevere will help us to find the answers to many questions that they have. I look forward to as much justice as is still possible for all of the brave survivors. And I'll be happy to take any questions, and Alicia can take any if she wishes to.
Ms. Allred, I have a question.
Would you speak up, please? Thank you.
Yes, I have a question. Emily Valdez, KNX. I recall the survivors saying that they were going to put together their own list and release it. Do you have any update on that?
The question is that she recalls the survivors indicating that they would put together their own list of others, third parties, in addition to Jeffrey Epstein and Ms. Maxwell, whom they allege sexually exploited or sexually abused or sex trafficked them. The question is, have they done that? The answer is each one of them knows their own truth. They don't know what happened to many others. There are alleged to be 1,000 victims of Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not sure if anybody knows the exact number, but many. So they may know what happened to some of their friends, but maybe they don't know the whole picture. That's what they're looking for. As to the actual release of the names, that would be very dangerous for the survivors to do it. And there are many attorneys involved, and I have no doubt that the attorneys have warned them that if they release the names of others who sexually abused them and said, Mr. X raped me, Mr. X sexually assaulted me, that they could be sued by the person whose name they released, who would then say, you have accused me of a crime because rape, sexual assault of a child, these are crimes. And that person was likely to say, you have defamed me, I'm innocent, I didn't do it, and therefore I have filed a defamation lawsuit against you. Most of these survivors do not have sufficient funds to pay an attorney to defend them against a civil defamation lawsuit, which could run hundreds of thousands to potentially over $1 million in fees and costs. That's a danger, and they could be tied up for years in depositions and in that lawsuit, even if it goes to trial, which it may or may not ever go to trial. Having said that, I would be really surprised, anything is possible, if a survivor decided to release all the names that she knows about. Now, I believe that it was a member of Congress, perhaps it was a Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm not sure, who said that she would release all the names on the floor of the Congress. Well, she would have some legal protection if she did it during a congressional proceeding. However, she's likely to be asked at some point who gave her those names. And then if it comes out that the survivors did, or any of them did, it may be that the survivors, again, will have further legal troubles. So the answer is, I don't know what will come next for the list of the survivors. Accusers. Well, the survivors who are accusing a third party. Okay, thank you. Good, great question. How would they do that? Are there any other questions for Alicia or for myself?
Do you know Spanish at all?
Sí, un poquito.
Enough to answer questions?
No.
Or say anything in Spanish?
Probably.
Yes or no?
Un poquito.
Probably not enough.
A little, but probably not enough. A little, un poquito.
But
It's
if
muy
you
mal, the situation. And I want it to be muy bien. It's muy mal,
okay.
this situation.
If you'd like to wait until afterwards, I could have somebody translate for her. Okay, be happy to do that.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Is there anything further? Any other questions? The last one was a very good one. Okay.
I'll ask, what would you love to see happen, like, for your case and for just this whole overall situation? What would be the greatest thing you'd like to see in your guys' corner?
Well, yeah. There's no case pending right now, because in reference to the criminal case of Jeffrey Epstein, he's now deceased. And in reference to Ms. Maxwell, the Supreme Court did not agree to hear her appeal. And so the only hope for her will be a pardon or commutation from the president, which reportedly she's seeking. But in terms of the survivors, they've always wanted truth and transparency. They would like to see all of the files released that the Department of Justice has. That, in other words, that would include investigative files from the FBI, from Homeland Security, and from any prosecutions which took place. I mean, the Jeffrey Epstein prosecution had begun, and then he died mysteriously in New York in custody. And they'd like to see all the files released from the Ms. Maxwell case as well. So that's what they're fighting for, is accountability and justice. It's not over just because there's been conviction of Ms. Maxwell and death of Jeffrey Epstein. I just want to add there's been a great deal of criticism of Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, who interviewed Ms. Maxwell in prison and who has now said recently, when some inconsistencies arose in the answer she gave him that day compared to other responses she had given in the past, that he didn't have in his possession, or the Department of Justice didn't have, emails from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein. So that raises even more questions. Why didn't they, if they didn't, why didn't the Department of Justice ever subpoena the emails in the Jeffrey Epstein files of the estate? How could a Deputy Attorney General of the United States go in and interview a convicted felon without having possession of those files? Again, more questions than answers. I don't know any prosecutor who would have done that. And of course, to have that high-level prosecutor even interviewing Ms. Maxwell is also very suspicious as well. Any other questions?
If this doesn't work, you know, Trump wanting to release the names and stuff, what do you think would work to finally, like, get these files, get these names? Like, this case has been going on for a long time.
And again, now, because he's directed the criminal investigation of these high-profile Democrats, such as former President Clinton and others, this further complicates the whole situation. Is the Department of Justice going to say, well, we can't release anything that would be the usual profile in reference to these Democrats because we're investigating them, so we can't let the public know any evidence about them? So will they use that as a reason not to release that part of the files? But then what about any Republicans, high-level, rich, famous, powerful men who also associated with Jeffrey Epstein, who were Republicans? I want to just add, in all my years involved in this case, and and discussions with many survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, not once has anyone said to me, is the person who sexually abused me a Democrat or a Republican? It's not something they cared about. They just wanted justice for him. They didn't care if it even ever voted, or was an independent, or not affiliated with the party. So now we're just involved in this political bloodbath, trying to get answers. So all I can say is when the fog of political war clears, I certainly hope that the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein will have more answers and information than they have now.
I have one
Go
more.
ahead.
Oh, I wanted to get, Ms. Alden, is it okay, are you comfortable sharing a little bit of your story of what happened to you with Jeffrey?
You want to get closer here to the camera?
I'll move this.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I have been asked this question
Good.
many times, and I always say, which is the truth, I speak to you as if we are coming back in 1997. So this happened to me in 1997. So if you come back with me, is a different time in 1997, which I thought I was highly always modeling and acting. I was auditioning for Melrose Place and Beverly Hills 90210, and I was working on Doogie Howser, and I was doing many shows and many modeling lingerie ads, and I did all these things and I was in Playboy, but I was in lingerie. But on the left side of me was Cindy Crawford in the magazine and Claudia Schiffer, my two favorite Victoria's Secrets models, and I'm in the magazine with them. So I thought, I'm going to send my pictures to New York. And I somehow got wind of him from a friend of mine that was pursuing him for some type of real estate. And she went to meet him. And then he asked her, and he came to California from New York, and he had already seen my pictures.
Meaning Jeffrey Epstein.
Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay.
Yes. And he wanted to meet me. So I was notified and called by his secretary, which to this day I think could have been Ghislaine Maxwell, but I don't know for sure. So I did go meet him. He ended up meeting my friend first, Jeffrey Epstein, and he had asked, do you know anyone that wants to be in Victoria's Secrets? And she said, no. And then she said, I don't want to be in Victoria's Secrets, but my friend Alicia does. And Jeffrey Epstein said, have her call me. And anything else, and anyone else who wants to be in Victoria's Secrets. Which is why, to this day, it makes perfect sense to me now that he was recruiting what we all saw that he did, but I didn't know that that's what he did and became of him.
Where did you meet him?
I ended up in the hotel room with him for what I thought was a Victoria's Secrets lingerie catalog audition.
And which hotel was that?
Shutters.
In
Santa Monica, California. And I wanted so desperately, like any model, to be in Victoria's Secrets. And I know that I could, because I was doing so much other, and I know I could do it, and I know I could be in there based on my beautiful modeling pictures. And so we were there in the hotel room, and he opened the door. He was barefoot in what appeared to be a suite with a kitchen and a whole entire living room. It's very expensive to stay there and be there at Shutters. So he opened the door, and I'll never forget it. He had on a white shirt. It might have been Fila at the time, and black lingerie pants. No, black sweatpants. Okay. Sweatpants, not lingerie. Okay. Sweatpants and black. Oh no, he was barefoot. So he wanted to see my portfolio, and so it was going well until he said, come closer to me, and then I want to start handling you. He asked me to turn around, and normally in an audition you might end up in a bathing suit, and you take off your wrap and you in a bathing suit and you model and turn around, which is legitimate to do that. But then he wanted me to come closer, and he started touching me, and I just couldn't handle it anymore. And he said, "Let me manhandle you," which I've never heard that word, and it's very upsetting because he said that to me. I've never forgotten it. And he wanted to manhandle me and start touching my buttocks, my stomach, my hips and thighs, and my chest, and it just was becoming apparent that I just felt like I was going to just involved in a situation I didn't want to be in. So I wanted to leave. And so I said, "Jeffrey, I'm going to leave." And then he said to me, "I will give you $100. And to this day, it's so hard for me to say, because I said, "I'm not a prostitute. I only want to be in Victoria's Secrets. I only want to be in the catalog." And I didn't take it. I threw it on the table, and because I did not want to go on what all the touching anymore. It was not right. It's not what happens in an audition. So I said, "I'm taking my portfolio and I'm leaving." And I'm leaving. So I left, and he's following me out of the room, and he gave me the $100. And I didn't know really what to do. So I decided to take it, because if you've been a model and actress in LA and you are living in Hollywood, driving to auditions in Santa Monica in LA, it's a lot of gas. So then I did. And I said, "Okay, I'm leaving." And so he followed me to valet parking in the Shutters Hotel, and he got his car, which was a black Mercedes, and then I went out into mine, and I said, "Okay, so I'm leaving," and he just kind of waved and didn't say anything. I think he said, "I'll call you," but I just was so traumatized as to what took place, and him touching me and groping me and telling me he wanted to manhandle me, and I'm in a bra and underwear at this point, because that's what happens. When you're going in for lingerie catalogs, you do have to be in a bra and underwear and a swimsuit to get the job. But I physically thought I was going to get it, and I had no idea that he really wasn't really who he said he was. And then I just felt I needed to leave. I drove right to the Santa Monica Police Department, which is across the street from the Shutters Hotel. And so I just felt I needed to do it. And that I'm sure I've put out there before. I don't know if you want me to go into that. That was a whole saga. I went in, and they didn't really want me to file it, and I felt I had to. So they took a little bit. They told me to think about it and come back. Think about it and come back. And so I just really wanted a female police officer, which I ended up not getting. But I did it, and to this day I'm happy that I did. And I said everything in my statement that, he was touching me and groping me and taking my clothes off, as to my clothes are off, but I just felt I needed to get out of there. And I felt I had to file the police report. Because what if he was doing this to other girls? I'm solely in there for, a legitimate audition. And he's already seen my pictures. But I did get a phone call from a woman. And then, when I was in the room, I was crying in front of him a lot, because I wanted to get in the catalog so bad. And he was saying, "Well, you look great in this picture, but then you look really busty." He did say that to me. "You look really busty in this picture." And I said, I'm very fit. I'm in fitness magazines. A camera can appear bigger or not. So that's great. And so then he did say that. And then he said, "I'll have to see." And then I started crying. And then he did get another phone call on his cell phone in front of me, and I, to this day, I can't prove it, but I think it was Ghislaine Maxwell, allegedly. I think, because they were together in 1997, right? In 1997. And then she got a phone, she called, maybe, he answered the phone, and he said, "I have this beautiful girl in front of me, and she's very upset," before I said I had to leave. I was crying in front of him because I wanted to desperately get the catalog, the magazine, so badly. And so he said, I have this beautiful girl in front of me and she's very upset.
Okay.
And I think it was her, but I can't prove it, but I think it was her.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else? Thank you very much for coming today.